you'll see the button up there.
All
Yes.
right. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are joining us. Thank you for joining us again today. Um, what up, my wonderful people? I'm Sunichi. I totally just forgot what we were called. This is Audacity for Breakfast. Thank you for joining us for another session or another dose, if you will. We are your guides, your conveners. Um, I am Dr. Senenge Anzenge. Joining us, as always, is I invite you to introduce
Christine.
yourself, the money
Christine.
mechanic.
Yes, the money mechanic.
Yes, and we welcome you to another moment of thoughtful ideas and thoughtful exchanges. We've had lots of, I think, really good engagements from last week. Christine did quite a share and sharing a bit about how she identifies, and I think that it really is kind of maybe it's central to a lot of the purpose behind Audacity for Breakfast. This whole notion of identity, right, and how we identify ourselves rather than or differently, or maybe even in addition to how others might identify us. How we define ourselves, I think, is really important, and so. It's in that spirit that we welcome you again to another afternoon, another conversation where we'll do some more sharing and some more learning. What do you have to say to the fine people today?
Hi everyone, it's good evening from here, Nigeria. My name is Christine once again, your co-host at Audacity for Breakfast, and I'm super excited. I can see our viewership has increased. Today we already have multiple people joining us, and we say thank you. We do hope that you love your time with us here today because we love doing this with you. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on future episodes of Audacity for Breakfast. Senenge, I think we are good to roll today's conversation.
Excellent. Before we get too far started, we had an experience in the lead up that I really want to revisit because it's one of those experiences that is my favorite kind of experience to have. So we opened up here. I started talking about identity. One of the things I like to share with the people today is, and you will learn more about this over time, I'm a learning technologist. My PhD is in learning technology. That's not a brag, it's information. And the point of that is that many times, or I guess what we do in that is to help make connections between how we use technology and teaching and learning. Now, as we were about to go live, Christine was asking me about different things, different features on WhatsApp and how I use them or don't use them. And now I've been using WhatsApp for years now. And I'm listening and you're asking me about this. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. You're talking about status on WhatsApp. It's on. That's what status is. What do you mean? And then you're talking about engagement on WhatsApp. And again, this is a very foreign concept. And so we had a moment in the open where it was great for me because here I'm learning about something that I've been using. And I had the experience where many times, I'm fancied an expert about certain things, and there's truth in that. But I'm not an expert about all things in any of that. And I appreciated that moment that we had at the beginning of the hour.
Yes. Thank you so much, Enigo, for bringing that up. I think that for me, while we were having that moment, right, what came to my mind is the fact that for number one, learning never stops for us
Mm,
as audacious people. I think that one thing that makes us stand out as audacious people is the fact that we are always ready to learn, always ready to put ourselves out there, and always ready to experiment, right? I found out again, I reminded myself in the past 1 week that one thing that makes me audacious is that I'm such a risk taker,
mm.
such a risk taker. And I think that it is in risk taking that I have found out some of the things I know. It's by just touching here and saying, what does this even do, that I have found out some of this information. So thank you for being open to, learning, in that moment and, sharing that with our audience.
Absolutely.
So today I'm going to be focusing the spotlight on Senenge, and I want us to start with um a question, right?
Mm,
um the will I say pre-episode video that we put out earlier today had both of us talking about where we feel the most audacious in our lives,
mm,
right? And we titled today's episode, What Does Audacity Taste Like?
mm,
Because if we talk about audacity being something that we have for breakfast, it means that there's a certain taste to audacity, don't you think?
mhm.
And I thought that that would be a good place for us to start because I wanted to hear from you. Um, where do you feel the most audacious in your life? What does audacity taste like to you? I'd really like you to hone in on that and share with us your thoughts and experience.
Thank you. I love the question. So where do I feel the most audacious? I'll be very honest. So I'm very into fitness. I spend a lot of time in the gym. It's a it's a space that I go to clear my head. But when I'm in that space and I put in my headphones and it's just me and what I'm there to do, that's one of those times where I feel the most audacious. Now, that's one example. But if I'm being completely honest, another time when I really feel that way too is when I'm writing. Um, I like to write, and I like to write when I can get into my head and just write and write freely and then go back and revisit it and reconstruct it. And I like to take my time with that. I have a funny thing, I condition myself then in that too, that I really can only do that kind of writing when I feel like the world is quiet. So it only happens earliest in the morning or late at night, like in the middle of the night. So when I have serious writing I need to do, that's when I'm the most productive at that. In early in the morning before anybody has woken up or late at night. If I have to do it during the day, I just feel like I can't quite get into it and it can't quite be fully me. And so it feels like it's lacking something. There are pluses and minuses to that because for most people the middle of the night are not working hours. So if I need to produce something in writing during the workday, that can be a challenge. But those I know for me are spaces where I know I feel it. I feel it. And then the question of taste, what does it taste like? I love that too, because that feeling, when I was small in Nigeria, we used to say, I will sugar pepper you, something like yes, and so it's sweet and it's hot, and it's exciting and it's frightening and it's all it fuels all of those things. If you think about sweet and hot, if you think about sugar and pepper on your tongue when they enter your mouth, salt can enter your mouth a little bit, but sweet and hot kind of occupy all of that space, in a
Hmm.
very different kind of way. And so that idea for me, that's what audacity tastes like. It's sweet and it's hot and it's exciting and it's frightening, right? And you keep eating more. You like it and
Hmm.
you're not so sure. So you go back, let
Hmm.
me try it again. Think about that thing. Yes, you tried it. Oh, I think I liked it, but I'm not sure. So let me try it again, right? So yes.
Amazing, amazing. Now you said a couple of stuff that stood out to me, right?
Mm,
And really captured my heart. The first thing you talked about was about timing. You mentioned how, you like to write, number one. I feel like writing is a part of our journey as we go along because it's one way that we are able to really share our journey and what we are learning, right? And I think I'm going to drill into that a bit more. But I wanted to talk about, the timing of when you write. You spoke about either writing early in the morning, or late at night. Now, I I would say I am like that. Now, naturally, I love working at night.
mm,
But then I read a book a couple of years ago, I think 2 years ago, titled The 5 a.m. Club. And that was when my whole morning, routine started. And I started doing a whole lot of things I call my high value tasks early in the morning. So for me, before I turn on my phone, before the notifications start hitting me, before I face the world, I take an hour or two in my mornings that are like my sacred hours, where I spend time meditating, I spend time writing, and doing the things that are wholesome for me.
Mm.
And I wanted to know, for you, is it an intentional act to spend either early mornings or late nights writing? And
Mm.
why is that such an important thing to you?
That's a really good question. And if I'm being completely honest, is it an intentional act? I wish I could say it was. It's not an it's not an intentional act as much as I feel that it's a habit.
Mm,
And I don't know if I know many times I characterize it as a bad habit because many of the times it feels counterproductive. It's not intentional. That's why
uh-huh,
I characterize it as myself as a bad habit. It could
mhm,
be, a different kind of habit. I don't know that I've placed it that way in my head, but also I
mm,
haven't placed it that way in my head because this is not what I take away from a little bit from what you describe is what you have is a regular practice of doing that. And this
mm,
writing that I describe isn't a regular practice in a sense. Now,
mm,
the exercise, that part is very ritual and very regular for me.
uh-huh,
And so that part, that's where I do know for myself, I've developed some high value association with that,
exactly.
with
Yeah.
regularity in that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And let me also share that a lot of my exercise time is also deep think time.
Mm.
So, like,
Okay.
yes, I exercise a lot, and it's a lot of, I'm not there socializing. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
interacting with anyone else, truth be told.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm in
Mm-hmm.
that space, I have my
Mm-hmm.
headphones in and I'm
Mm-hmm.
exercising, but I'm processing. I'm working
Mm.
on I'm working on something. So I guess
Mm-hmm.
now let me take a step back to the earlier conversation because yes, that is a high value time for me. And it's high value because of the exercise element, but it's also high value for me because that is where I do some intentional processing.
Mm.
There are many mornings I wake up very heavy. Something might be bothering me. So then I
Mm-hmm.
might go to, and it might be a personal thing, it might be work
Mm-hmm.
related, whatever it is. So then I go and I can get up and right away, 5 a.m., let me go exercise. Before I
Mm-hmm.
do anything else, I can do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do that, but
Yeah.
then I do that and I'm in there 90 minutes and that's my brain is on, but it's here. And I'm
Yeah.
doing this thing. I'm doing this thing. And when I come out, if it's a thing that was bothering me, by the time I've come out, I've worked through what was bothering me. How do I want to respond? And I can be
Mm-hmm.
clear headed about that. If it's about my day, if it's honestly, yeah, that's a way that for me, I work through a lot of things in that space. And that's very high
Amazing.
value for me.
High value for you. Exactly. I think that, to be very honest, high value means a lot of things to different people, right?
Hmm.
Um, and it is up to us to decide for you what is high value for you,
Hmm.
right? And it's very also important that you also um, tie it to a routine, to be very honest, because I think that routines are very, very key for audacious people. I won't
Hmm.
even lie to you. I would say that my routine has really, really helped me stay focused on certain things, right? And I think that whatever your high value thing is to you, it must feed into your personality, it must feed into your purpose, it must feed even into your peace and your well-being. But I think that across board, right, I listen to podcasts a whole lot, right? um and I listen to a lot of motivational podcasts a lot, and one thing I have learned and I have heard repeatedly over time is that people who do the actual thing, audacious people, action takers, are
Hmm.
always very, very active in one way or the other in the mornings. They're
Hmm.
either meditating, or they're doing cold plunges, or they're at the gym, or they're running, or they're reading. They're always doing something that feeds into their mental, physical, and emotional well being. And I think that that is important because for us, it sets the tone of the rest of our day.
Hmm.
right? Because would I say, we've fed ourselves first, we have put ourselves first, and we have put ourselves in a good mental state before we face the day. So I
Mm.
think that that feeds a lot into why and how we're able to be audacious and, take the actions and risks that we take the rest of the day. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
There is something I would like to add because you said something that I think is really important that people hear and they think about too. Routine is an important thing, and you said routine earlier. I was talking about, I don't know if it's routine or habit, so I
Habit,
shaded
yeah.
like a negative kind of light on it, and you put it in a positive light. For me, either way, I think it's important that people also approach these things with grace. Both you and I are describing practices that we regularly engage in, but we didn't wake up yesterday and decide we'll do this regularly, right?
Nope.
We had
Mm-hmm.
to, it's like any other routine or habit or even exercising any muscle of any kind, you have to do it over time. And I invite people to consider that you also have to afford yourself some grace because you'll start off Sunday with very good intentions and you'll hit the mark on Sunday and Monday. Tuesday will be a little bit shaky. Wednesday, you forget or something happens. And then by the end of the day, Wednesday, you have remembered, oh, I forgot this morning I didn't do. Thursday, you may pick it up again, or now you're starting to feel, oh, well, since I didn't do it, now maybe I've already fallen off. And
Mm,
it, the thing about consistency isn't, in my opinion, the thing about consistency isn't that you always do it, is that you
mm-hmm.
always do it.
Mm.
And so like,
Yeah.
yeah, if you fall off for a day, okay, you fell off for a day. If you fell off for
Mm-hmm.
a week, you fell off for a week. Get back
Mm,
up, pick it
mm,
back up, give yourself
mm-hmm.
some grace because
Mm-hmm.
everybody falls. Not everybody
Mm,
gets back up. Get back up.
mm. Yes.
And everybody's fall is not going to look the same. Everybody's get back
Mm-hmm.
up is not going to look the same. Get back up,
Mm.
you know, and your routine is not going to look like mine. What I do works for me. And frankly,
Exactly.
that's the only person it should work for.
Exactly. Hmm. Thank you for saying this. I'm going to relate this back to a conversation we had in episode one, right?
Mm,
Where we talked about the importance of identity, right? The importance of identity. The fact that each one of us owes ourselves the responsibility of knowing ourselves. We're all on individual journeys. And until we know ourselves, we cannot be audacious. I remember we vividly pointed that out the last time, right? That our audaciousness is tied a lot to our identity as people. If we do not understand ourselves and know ourselves, we're going to get caught up trying to live other people's lives, and in the bid to try and live other people's lives, we will never actually get a chance to be truly and authentically audacious. And that's something that we must, take to heart. Now, I want to still go deep into the issue of identity, right? You
mhm,
mentioned something. You said, all for you, that is what works for you. And of course, it's supposed to work for you, for just you, because it's your routine and it's your life, right? I would like you to speak more on how discovering your identity has really really fed into your decisions to be audacious in other parts of your life.
mm.
I'd like you to speak more on the issue of identity.
I love the question. And the thing about, so good. We have talked about how at any given point, we are many things. And so for me, the idea too is that I'm never, ever only one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I believe that I am continuing to become. And so there are some things that as I am becoming, I'm picking up and they're part of the foundation. There are other things that I'm picking up and I may carry for a while and then I might put them down. I don't forget that I picked them up or that I carried them for a while. I also don't forget that I put them down. And so, that might have been who I was for a while. And it's who I was for a while. It's not who I am right now. So the point in that is that, identity for me isn't one point. It is a journey. It's a continuum. In that,
Mm,
then too, I think that there's lots of space for it to take many different shapes. Also, it's very limited. I'm limited in what I can be. I can only be me. I can't be you.
mm,
And so, if I see things that you do and I like them, that's great. If I
mm,
want to be like Christine, I can work really hard to be like Christine. But the most I can ever do is be like Christine in
mm.
my own way.
Yeah.
If I can't own
Yeah.
it that it's in my own way, then I'll always be chasing something I can never achieve, right? So I got to own
Yeah.
my own identity. There's only so much I can do. I also believe that there are many things I can do. So let me keep pushing and pushing and pushing. There will come a time where I'll face something and then I get to decide, do I want to continue doing it or am I satisfied? It doesn't necessarily
Mm,
mean I can't do it. I'm deciding, right? Remember what we talked
mm.
about the last time. Somebody says
Yeah.
they can't do something. I believe it. I believe that you can't do it. Doesn't mean I can't do it. I can
Mm.
decide I don't want to do it. I
Exactly.
can decide it's not interesting to me. But that's
Mm-hmm.
me and my decision because
Mm-hmm.
of me and my decisions.
Yes. Thank
I
you for
mean,
sharing.
yeah, yeah. No, I appreciate
So
the question.
you said something that hit me. Two things, right? You talked about continuing to become, right?
Mm,
And for me, it stood out to me because it again reminded me that our process of becoming is continuous. So we do not ever get to a point where there's no point of, like Nigerians will say, you never get to a point where you feel like you don't arrive. Do you
mm,
understand? Our
mm-hmm,
process of becoming is continuous. And I think that that is what even makes our lives more beautiful. The fact that we are actually evolving, and we must let ourselves evolve, right?
mm-hmm,
Because sometimes again, I remember last week we talked about, not allowing yourself be boxed. Audacious people are never boxed.
mm-hmm.
Audacious people are outliers, right? And this is why, because we understand that our becoming is a continuous process. And we must apply ourselves to it, right? That stood out to me. So we must be ready to keep developing yourself. What happened, as simple as that moment was, where I showed you, how to use your WhatsApp status, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a process of becoming, right? Learning makes that process continuous.
Yes.
When we stop learning, we essentially stop becoming. We remain stuck in our ways, right? The
Yes.
second thing is, you know it may sound like a contradiction, but it hit me where you said I'm limited in what I can do. And for me, right, the way I interpret that is that we're all unique. We're all unique individuals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just like, it says God has created us and nobody has the same fingerprint. Just like we are all unique, right? Our journeys are unique. And nobody can ever do the things we do the way we are going to do it. And so we
Exactly.
must stop trying to be like other people. And
Yes.
so that really hit me, right? Then I think that connects the fact that it's good to learn from other people. It's good to see someone and admire a trait they have and desire to have it. But as we learn, we must never forget ourselves in the process. We must never forget our authentic selves in the process of trying to learn from others. I don't know if you have any additional thoughts.
Yes. And now the thing I want to say about all of that, I'm in 100% agreement with you. And I want to invite people to consider that none of what we're saying, we don't want, we're not saying that any of this is easy. Learning is not easy. Learning is not easy. Learning is never easy. It's never easy since you're learning to walk or crawl or talk to as an adult learning new things. It's not easy. Learning is never easy. It's growth. Growth
Hmm,
is not easy. Growth is a
hmm,
painful and uncomfortable process, and that's
hmm,
necessary, right?
hmm,
Um, And so, like, whether we're talking about learning or evolution or growth, it's necessary. It's a process. Now, the thing I do want to invite person, the educator in me, has to invite us to remember too that it's lifelong. So
Hmm.
again, in education, we talk a lot about lifelong learning, and we don't all always practice it. And that's where I think it's important that we all continue to practice lifelong learning. And remember that it's hard. It's hard to learn new things. It's hard to embrace that, yes, I can work to become like somebody, but I can't become them. And so the most I can do is do my best to become like them in my best way.
Hmm.
And that's a
Hmm.
hard thing. And I get
Yeah.
that. And so it's work. We have to continue the work. It's all
Hmm.
work. If you think you've
Amazing.
gotten there,
Mm-hmm.
you have more work to do.
Hmm. Hmm. Amazing. So if you think you've gotten there, you have more work to do. Now, two things have stood out to me again. The fact that growth is not easy. Growth is
Hmm.
a painful process. I was once listening to um someone I respect, and he mentioned that growth is the stretching game. He called it the stretching game. If you're not
Yes.
ready to be stretched, you cannot grow. And for you who works out, you would be able to relate with this, in the development of a muscle, right?
Hmm.
And how there's a lot of stretching when you want to develop a muscle. And you don't stop when you start to feel pain,
Mm.
because you know that this stretching is necessary for the muscle to be formed,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Secondly, the fact that this learning journey is a lifelong journey. Now, I have another question for you.
Uh-huh.
Now that you've established, or we've established, that learning is a lifelong journey, a lifelong process, my question now is, why is this important to our Audacity journey? Why
Mm.
is learning important to our Audacity journey? How does learning make us more audacious? Can
Learning,
you
that's
tell us?
a fantastic question. And learning is important, in my opinion, because we are never at one stationary moment in time. And so
Hmm,
everything around us is continuously changing and shifting and growing and evolving and all of those things. And if we are not doing the same, then they're moving past us and leaving us behind. But also, if we're not doing the same, then also we're not finding our place, right, in the world or in the environment or in the community that is shifting and changing and evolving all around us. So
hmm,
this is why I think it's important that we continue to learn. Good. We talk about whether it's about education or the children. Talk about the children's either meeting them where they are, or preparing the children for the future, their futures, not our futures, right?
mhm,
But part of what we have to learn in that is that we have to learn how to think about their futures or look through their eyes, through their experience, and recognize our limitedness,
yes, yes.
right? In what we
Mhm,
know. And that's a learning. That's a very difficult learning. We do a lot of, oh, I know this, so I'm going to project it onto you.
hmm,
And it's like, well, no, I know this, and so that's all it is. I know this. I can
hmm,
share it with you, and then
mhm,
you can take it and make of it what you will for your life, for your experience, because it's your journey. But I can't
hmm,
tell you how anything's going to whatever based on my experience. I can just share with you what I know, what I've experienced, and how it's
mhm,
impacted me,
hmm,
right? But I think that we do spend a lot of, oh, I know this, so let me give it to you or put it in, and now you will know this too. And it's like, I don't know that you can know that way. I can share it
yeah,
with you. You can have your own experience, or you can also ignore it, and your growing will take a different, your growing is going to take the journey it's going to take, or the direction it will
yeah.
take.
Hmm.
And that is a
So
hard thing. Sorry, go ahead.
that's a hard thing. Yes. I was just going to say that, I'm looking at how learning is done in our part of the world.
Mm,
And, I'm seeing discrepancies, right? In the sense that the reason why our, I would say, the reason why a lot of things are not evolving and changing in a country like Nigeria is because we're not being taught to be independent, with our learning, right? What usually happens in most places is you're forced to learn a particular concept in a particular way, and you're not taught to think outside the box, right? I remember sitting in an audience a couple of weeks ago, and one of the people there was sharing, the facilitator was sharing about how he left his university lecturing job to go into e-commerce, to go
Hmm.
into business. Okay, he does e-commerce now. Of course, he did a lot of businesses before he landed in e-commerce, but he was so uncomfortable as a university lecturer because they were not allowing him bring any new concepts into the classroom.
Hmm.
And every time he wanted to bring new concepts into the classroom, his seniors challenged him and they asked him to stick with the script. And he said he just woke up one day and he said, "You know what? If this is what I'm going to have to subject myself to, I'm going to leave the formal university setting, and I'm going to go and teach these new concepts where no one is going to pin and try to dictate what I teach." And what he's doing now, even with his e-commerce business, is as he's raising other e-commerce practitioners, he's teaching them some of these concepts, even in that business space. So in the end, he's still teaching, but
Hmm.
he's teaching without borders. And I
Hmm.
think it's very important that we stop trying to force learners to experience life the exact same way as we experienced. Permit me to also digress again a little. This just came to mind. For young people my age in Nigeria, one of the things we've been complaining about is how our parents are so quick to say, during our time, when we graduated, there was job, there was car. During our time, this and this and this. But it's not your time. It's not your time, and you cannot apply during our time to our generation, right? Our generation is experiencing life totally differently. What do you say to a generation that finishes university and is not sure of how they're going to get a job? What do you say to a generation like who's riddled with insecurity? People are afraid of moving from one side of the country to another,
Hmm.
right? So I think that our learning must evolve as the times evolve, right? Now I wanted to hone in on something you said. You raised the issue of finding our place in an evolving world. Finding our place in an evolving world. And I think that learning helps us find our place in an evolving world, right?
Hmm.
Um, the principles, I think, essentially of learning remain the same, but the applications differ.
Hmm. Hmm.
The applications differ. Now, you are the expert here academically, right? Can
Hmm.
you tell us, right? How can we balance the principles with the application? Because I don't think the principles really change. I just
Hmm.
think the application, because even a lot of the things our parents taught us that they learned in the 60s, 70s, 80s, we they're still applicable to us today,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
But the
Hmm.
way it's the application now that differs. How do we strike a balance?
That's good. I'm really glad you asked that question. I'm glad that you asked it the way that you asked too, because as you talk about balance, I'll use this as an example. So think about a scale, huh? And many times, how do we create balance on the scale? If there's too much weight here, we have to add some to, oh, no, there's too much. So we have to, create some balance, right?
Mhm.
Now, if we're dealing with different materials, then it's going to take different quantities, right, to create that balance. So in all of this too, think about different attributes, whether it's we're getting it from our parents or from school or from society or from our friends or from whatever else it is. As we're taking things in, we need to take in as much as we need to help create balance in ourselves or for ourselves to a purpose or to different purposes. And so, and even in that, it's not that the amount that I take right now to create the balance that I need for right now is the same amount that I will need always, right? And so
Yeah.
it's a thing for our parents to give us the lessons that they're going to give us. It's a different thing for us to take which lessons we will need from our parents.
Hmm.
That's a thing that, so I said two things there. It's a thing for our parents to give us whatever lessons they're going to give us. Parents are going to say and do whatever they're going to do, right? Culture, society, those things that are outside of us are going to say or do whatever they're going to do. It's a different thing for us to take the lessons that we're going to take away from any of those experiences. So that thing
Hmm.
that you have to give me isn't necessarily what I'm going to take to create the balance that I need for myself. But you also can only tell me so much what I'm going to take. You can tell
Hmm.
me all the things you want me to take, all the things you think I need to take, or whatever
Uh-huh.
else it is, but I am only going to take that which I need as I
Hmm.
need it.
Hmm.
And so that's the thing that I had to come to myself too. Good. I'll give you an example. One time I was in when I was in graduate school, I was taking one class. There was a writing class. It was a management writing class, and I kept writing these papers that I thought were so good and turning them in, and I would get mid-level average marks. I said, what's the deal? So I went to go and talk to the professor, and she said, well, look, for this course, for this kind of writing, it needs to be written this way. And I
Yeah.
said, okay, what's wrong with my writing? She said, there's nothing wrong with your writing. You write very well. And your points
Yeah.
are articulate. It's constructed very well. It just doesn't fit the format that is necessary for this class.
Yeah.
I said, well, okay, why is this the format that is necessary for this class? Because it wasn't
Yeah.
about the content or anything, it was about what she needed. I said, oh,
Yes.
okay. Then I told her that, okay, well, she said that, yes. And if you continue to write the way that you're going to write this way, you're only ever going to get a C in this class. You'll only ever
Wow.
get average. And for me, I said,
Yeah.
all I need is a C. And she looked at me like just dumbfounded that I was willing to accept a C. But
Yeah.
I told her that no, this is a course that I needed to take. I needed to take this course to complete my degree. And as much as I care about this course, I care about the content in this course, not necessarily performing a certain way. So, what I need is the C to finish my
Hmm.
degree and move on. That's what I
Hmm.
need. If she needed me to perform a certain way, I can appreciate that. But now remember also, for everybody listening, I wasn't a child. This was in graduate school. I was an adult. And so I was having a conversation with another adult, and we were
Adult.
sharing our
Exactly.
needs, right?
Yeah.
And expressing our
Yeah.
needs. These are the things that she needed for her to be able to give me this and this learning experience. And for me,
Hmm.
this is what I needed to take away from this learning experience.
Hmm.
And so that which she was, giving me, this is what I needed to take from that
Yeah.
to create the balance for me. Now, did I
Hmm.
love getting a C in that class? To be honest with you, no, I didn't love
No.
that.
Yeah.
Did I care? To be honest with you, no,
Hmm.
I didn't care. Like,
Hmm.
I hope that doesn't sound flippant to anybody out there, but I really didn't care because for
Care.
me,
Yeah.
that course was not about the grade. I did want the information in that course, and I wanted a rich learning experience. And
Hmm.
if I'm going to own some of my own stubbornness, I also wanted to perform it a certain way. And
Hmm.
so it was the
Hmm.
exchange.
I think that this is very deep, especially if you're someone who's an independent thinker.
Hmm.
It's not the easiest to not be put in a box. It's not the
Right.
easiest to also stand for your convictions and for your beliefs, especially when there's a power play. So
Hmm.
I'm trying to put this in the Nigerian context, and I know that if this were in a Nigerian university, you know, many, lecturers would want to bully, their students, even into doing things a particular way to serve their
Hmm.
purpose, and would even threaten, you know, to take away their grades if they don't do that. But I think that it takes a level of also wisdom, right? And also understanding the opportunity cost. If you're going to give me a C and well I get to stick with my convictions, then why not? I For me right now, I just need to pass this course and move. I'm not
Right.
trying to get an A here, right? I would like to liken this to my learning experience when I was in the Nigerian law school.
Hmm.
Now, For me, learning is really not about cramming things. I've never been someone who's been able to cram, so I cannot
Hmm.
cram to save my life,
Hmm.
right? A few weeks ago, when I spoke at a TEDx, everybody learned their scripts, and I read my scripts, and I told the
Hmm.
organizers that, oh, I don't do well with cramming scripts, so I'm going to read my script. And I did it because I can, right?
Hmm.
You know, a lot of people raised eyebrows, but I said, oh, I'm going to read my script because I
Hmm.
put thought into this. My thought process is organized here. I was very honest. I said, if you let me talk, I can talk beyond time because I want to respect the timing I've been
Yes.
given. I'm going to read. I know your rule says, oh, nobody reads their scripts, but then I had to reference Chimamanda when she
Mm.
gave her TEDx, she read from his script. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to read from his script. I think that it is important that we are confident about the things that matter to us enough not to disrespect anyone, but
Yes.
to do what we're convicted about. And going back to my learning experience in the law school, a lot of people were cramming, trying to cram all the laws, trying to cram the constitution. People were mixing coffee and energy drinks. They were not sleeping. They were doing all sorts because they wanted to get an A. And you know what? I'm just like, you know what? This is not even the true test of learning. For me, I just want to
Right.
pass the bar and go into the real world. That is where the true test of learning is.
Hmm.
And so, because I understood my learning style as a person, I applied my learning style, which did not include mixing energy drinks and coffee and having unhealthy practices, and I passed the bar. Right. So I
Hmm.
think understanding yourself and what really matters to you is critically important. Are you trying to please people, or are you trying to, follow your heart? Now, speaking about principles, right, and applying it in an evolving world, I wanted to give an example um of a principle we know as, hard work.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
hard work. Our parents tell us a lot to work hard, right? They tell us to work hard, and their definition of hard work is hard work. And then finish, graduate, get a blue collar. Is it white collar, blue collar?
White
One of
collar.
them, white collar job,
Uh-huh.
finish and get paid a pension.
Uh-huh.
But the way work is now done in our generation, work has evolved. The idea of work has evolved.
Hmm.
um I don't need to work in the four corners of an office to be productive. Work has evolved.
Hmm.
And I think that that is a very, very low hanging example that we can use, that we can take the principle of hard work, right, and consistency and resilience, and then we find our place here and we apply the principles.
Hmm.
I know it's difficult for a lot of our parents to understand. What are you always doing in front of that computer? What kind of work are you doing that you're always looking at your computer all of the time? But I
Hmm.
think that the way we also apply it matters, in the sense that are we getting the same results,
Hmm.
right? So it's also critically important as well, that we take the principle, we look at our evolution and where the world is at, and then we apply the principle, because I think the principles remain the same, but the
Hmm.
application totally differs.
Hmm.
Now let's move a gear further in our conversations in English.
Well, I want to
Now,
make one point about. Well, actually,
go
no. Go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Cause go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, there's just for me. There's one thing about hard work and working hard, right? And I always say, like, first off, okay, it is a little kind of self-deprecating way. I say that I believe I'm one of the laziest people I know, and I do believe that, because also I don't believe in working hard.
Hmm.
Like I'm not a fan of working hard. Like I see so much of that, and there's so many people who are just like grinding it out, and I'm like, good on you. And I would much rather do hard work
Hmm.
than work hard.
Hmm.
This thing that we're doing right here for me feels like hard work. this idea, this notion of trying to expand minds, right, and share information and invite folks into different ways of thinking and different ways of being and different ways of doing. Like, I think that that's hard work.
Hmm.
Now, we could also turn off the screens, grab a hoe, and go out into the field and be
Hmm.
working hard. No,
Hmm.
Boga, I'm okay. Like, and that's not to disrespect. That's not to disrespect, to eat. Back to what we were talking about in school too. I think we have both shared enough here that it feels safe for me to assume that we are both students who were okay to do the hard work. It's not an easy thing to go and get a law degree. It's not easy thing to go and do a PhD. Now, I don't think that either one of us, yes, we have had our moments where we shined, but I think that if we're both being honest, we're probably not the top student every class,
Yep. Totally
right?
agree. And I'm
Right?
fine with
And
that,
just
to be very
and
honest.
despite that, here's where
Yes.
we sit.
Mm.
There's a saying or a joke kind of in this country. What do you call it? What do you call a doctor who got C's? Doctor.
Doctor. Yes. Oh my God.
You see,
He's still a
and
doctor.
so right, and so I mean, who's checking my? If somebody wants to check my transcript, let them go and check. And when they come back, I'll still be here, Doctor Senninger.
Hmm.
You know,
Preach.
I mean, and
Yes.
so like, and if that's what they need to validate me, that's okay. Let them go. And when they come
Hmm.
back, I'll still be Dr. Senegal. I've done the things that I've done. I know what I've done.
Yes. Yes.
And so it's the same thing with the story of that class and taking the C. Like, no, I knew respectfully, but I knew what the exchange was in that space.
Hmm.
Well, I think with all of these things, and this is not to be disagreeable with your point. Working hard and hard work, both are important. I would argue that they are equally important, right?
Important.
But they are
Mhm.
differently important depending on who you are.
Hmm.
My grandfather was a farmer. I love that.
Hmm.
Our great grandfather was a farmer. That's what they did. And I
Yes.
respect that. And I'm glad
Yeah.
that there are folks who still do that so that we can do this.
Yes.
Sorry, you were going to go somewhere else. Go.
So you so you've just touched a because now I'm thinking, and I think we'll probably do an episode on that, where we really dive deep into what is the difference between hard work and working hard. I think
Mm-hmm.
that that is a conversation, even for me. I don't think I can really define the two. I'm not even going to lie. I don't even know the difference. I know that you hear a lot of people saying you don't work hard, you work smart. But then I also tend to disagree because
Mm,
I think that there is a hard to work that is necessary.
mhm,
There's a hard to work that is necessary. Um, because if there's no there's just a I don't know how to explain it, but there's a hard to work that is just necessary, because
mhm.
that is where the idea of resilience comes in. That's what makes you different from the average nonchalant person. It's that
Yes.
extra thing, right
Yes.
there's a motivational speaker I always listen to, Eric Thomas, and he's always going to say, "No one will outwork me.
Hmm.
Nobody is going to outwork me." And I listen to that and I tell myself, it's the people who say things like this that end up being the 1%.
Hmm.
It is by saying nobody's going to outwork me, right?
Hmm.
And I think that that is a conversation, I think we need to have. What is to an audacious person, right?
Hmm.
If we're saying hard work, what does that mean for us, right? And
Hmm.
then how do we balance it out with working hard? Because of course there's also a point where it's now even not healthy and not even
Yes.
making any sense, and you're not even finding easier ways to do things when there are easier ways to do things. But yes,
Hmm.
I digress. I was just going to I was taking notes, right? And I was trying
Hmm.
to tie this to what we're discussing today, about what audacity tastes like. And I've been taking
Mm.
notes, and I've been trying to come up with, if we're to come up with a recipe of what
Hmm.
audacity would taste like from what we've discussed so far. I would say audacity tastes like process, audacity tastes like learning, audacity tastes like growth,
Hmm.
audacity tastes like high value activities, audacity tastes like consistency,
Hmm.
audacity tastes like evolution, and now I think we're adding another one. Audacity tastes like hard work. Now, I
Okay.
I would like to hear from you. So far, does this recipe sound very right?
It is very good. Yes, it sounds very right. Now, the only thing that I want to add, yes,
Mm-hmm.
is that as we're talking about food and tasting, it's also very appetizing. Let's make it a little appetizing, okay? And
Mm-hmm.
so,
Yeah.
Audacity, what does Audacity taste like? Well, Audacity tastes like poundo with some draw soup and some egusi and some mashwe with some
Woo!
dried fish and
Yes,
goat
please.
meat and
Yes.
roasted chicken. No, and I'm saying this, and it's funny, but like think about, sometimes when you go and you get maybe some poundo and one soup, it's okay, and you can be okay for, but Kai, isn't it nicer sometimes when you get poundo and some draw soup and then some
Yes.
egusi? And sometimes it's even nice when you mix them small. And then
Yes.
after you eat poundo so much, sometimes you want amala, but you still
Yes.
want the gusi and the draw soup, whether it's okro or bono. Or sometimes give me both. So all of this is to say that, like, yeah, again, it's about variety, right? It's about different tastes for different seasons. It's about
Hmm.
different tastes for different reasons, and we put in
Hmm.
as much as we need to, or we take out as much as we need to, as our appetite kind of suits the occasion.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people get really caught up in all things all the time. No, it's not all the time that I am Dr. Sending it. Sometimes I'm just sending it,
Hmm.
right? And so, like, this thing about working hard and hard work, like, we're doing this right now and it's hard work. But a few hours ago, we were both working hard.
Hmm.
Like, we both got to pay the bills. We both got to
Exactly.
work for the man. Like, we both have to do those things. So as much as I say, like, yeah, I'd rather do hard work than work hard, working hard is important. For me, it's only through working hard that I get to do hard work,
Hmm.
right? Like going to school, yes, I can go to school. We can all go to school, but going to school is, I don't know anybody who thinks it's a party, even people who enjoy it.
Nope.
You
Nope.
have to work hard to go through school. But you have
Hmm.
to, but I decided at an early age, even though I wasn't great at school, that I wanted PhD because that was going to afford me the opportunity to do many of the
Hmm.
things in life that I want to do. Many of
Yes.
the things in life that I believe I'm here to do. That
Hmm.
was going to let me do all the hard work that there is out there. But in order to
Hmm.
do that, man, I had to work hard.
Preach.
So yeah, when I say that, like right now, like, yes, in fact, my wife has now forbidden me from getting any more degrees, and so I'm done with school. Okay, but like I'm done with working hard that way. All I
Yes.
have in front of me is hard work. That's not
Hard
true,
work.
because I still have to work hard, to in the day job. And you still have to
Of
do
course.
those things. And I'm
Yes.
trying to create balance, right?
Hmm.
I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
create balance where I get to spend more of my energy, more of my efforts doing
Mm-hmm.
stuff like this, doing hard work. It's hard to reach out across the ocean to say, hey, for an hour every week for the next several weeks, you want to talk? And let's get
Hmm.
people in a room to talk, and let's share that let's just stand naked in front of people and talk about the
Yeah.
things that we do, and then
That's
also
hard
let
work.
it live online, right? For people to,
Yes.
because we've seen what happens online. So people are going to take jabs and pick apart or whatever, or will get love, but like, yeah, that is hard work. That is hard work. Working hard, nobody sees when we're working hard. I've never
Hmm.
seen your office. I've never seen what you do when you're working hard. My
Hmm.
family has never seen what I do when I'm working hard, right?
Hmm.
But everybody can see the hard work that we're doing here.
Yes.
So that's
Hmm.
what, for me, when I talk about, like, for me, a distinction between working hard and hard work.
Hard
Like,
work.
yeah, no, I'd much rather be doing the hard work.
Hard work. Yeah. Hmm. Thank you. Thank you so much once again. Today has been deep thought for me, to be very honest. And you said something that really hit me again, and one of our viewers even, reiterated it in the comments, you know, having different tastes, for different seasons.
Hmm.
Very important. We started talking about this last time, about how life is in seasons. right? And it's important that you understand what season you're in,
Mm,
and you tailor your life accordingly. It's important because you cannot apply the same audacity for every season. Every season, will I say, requires a different level of audacity. Speaking about getting degrees and all of that, I'm currently doing an MBA program, but it is just not a normal MBA program. I'm doing an MBA in finance and
mm,
investment, and most people know that I'm from a law background. And I have had to be the most audacious that I have been in ages in the past 1 year, because I'm literally pivoting from one, like I'm pivoting from the arts, basically,
mhm,
right? I'm pivoting from law and English and literature to math.
mhm.
And what I have proven to myself in the past 1 year is that with the right level of audacity, I can do whatever I want to do.
Yes.
Um, and I say I've proven this because growing up, math was not my favorite thing. My mom is watching, and she knows that math used to make me cry.
Mhm,
Like, I did not like math. Math was my worst nightmare. I would do very well in other courses, but I just always tried to scale through math, right? Then I went to the university, and I had to do math because I went
mhm,
to a liberal arts university. So we had to do math. Everybody had to do math, like, compulsorily. And I had to get to a point where I had to tell myself, look, you need to pass this course so that you can graduate. And I put myself into it. I think I got a C or a D. I can't remember. I sharp passed, right?
mhm,
But you see, doing this as a master's now has pushed me beyond my limits. Now I need this, right? So I have been putting in the work. I have been learning the formulas. I
mm,
have been, I have just had to face all my fears and say, you know what? I'm going to do this. And it has taken an extra level of audaciousness. It
mm.
has taken like an extra level. For me, I couldn't believe I was watching tutorials on calculations. I'm like, oh my God, is this my life? But I am doing, right? So I believe and I agree with you that for different seasons, we need different levels of audacity to be able
Mhm.
to go through those different seasons. You likened it to all of the yummy, delicious delicacies, and I agree with you because pounded yam is my favorite delicacy as well. I think that at different points in time, you know what is fit for that season, and you apply
Right.
it accordingly. Wow.
There's another thing
Today
that you
has
said
been
that
amazing.
the one point that you
I
made
know we
that
have a
I think
few
we should not
minutes
lose.
left. So Senenge, I would like you to share if you have any final thoughts before we close out and do some housekeeping.
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Excellent. Because you made one point that I want to make sure everybody catches. You proved to yourself. And
Mm,
this is the season that I'm in right now. I'm only working right now to prove to myself. To all our audacious listeners out there, work to prove to yourself.
mm,
We spent a lot of our early years and our formative years and so on working to demonstrate or to prove to or for others. That's great. I'm happy in a season right now where I'm working to prove to myself, working to
mm,
prove for myself. And again, it's not fun, it's not easy, it's difficult, but it's evolving, it's growth. Stay audacious.
mm. Amazing. I put this in the comments and I said, be audacious for yourself. I'll just quickly say that many of us grew up trying to be people pleasers, trying to do things for others. But my reminder to you today is that do it for yourself, not for anybody else. Remember that we said last week, one of the things both of us said last week is that people who try to make us feel bad about our audaciousness do that because they themselves cannot be audacious and they know they cannot be. So they try to make us feel some type of way. That is why you must always do whatever you're doing for yourself first. Prove to yourself. And when you prove to yourself, every other person has no other choice. right? So we must work to prove to ourselves, right, that we can do this and we're audacious people. Thank
Indeed.
you so much. So, reading out our recipe for what audaciousness tastes like one more time. We said audaciousness tastes like process, learning, growth, high value activities, consistency, evolution, hard work, and a sprinkle of pounded yam, egusi, and all the yummy proteins that you can imagine. All
Indeed, indeed.
right, people. Thank you for showing up to the second episode of Audacity for Breakfast. If you're just joining us for the first time today, thank you. We hope you had a wonderful time. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. If you enjoyed today's video and you learned so much, sure. Just click on the share button. You can share it to your WhatsApp status. For me, I was sending how my WhatsApp status is like a community for me. People view your WhatsApp status. Do something good for them by
Mm.
sharing today's video. Someone needs to watch this video and they are in your contact list. So when we're done with tonight's video, just click the share button, add a little caption, tell your followers, your viewers, your friends, your contacts, you need to watch this video, and encourage them to join us next week. We're going to be here again next week, Thursday, right? So stay tuned. When you subscribe and you turn on notifications, you will always get notified when we have a video coming up. That's why we encourage you to subscribe. I just want you to know that the conversations are just starting. If you
Hi,
think you've
that's right.
already had enough, you're in for a wonderful time. So, Senegal, would you like to tell us what's happening next week? Because we're going to be having a twist to our conversation next week. So,
Well,
please
next
tell
week
them what's happening.
we are inviting a guest to come and share with us. The first of several guests who will come and share with us a little bit of how they are exhibiting and living audaciousness in the world, and how they are being a change maker in their space, in their corners. And so we do invite you to come and join us next week, be part of the conversation, and share alike.
Amazing. I just wanted to also say that, we're also looking for audacious people like you to one day be on our conversation. So when the time comes, we're going to be asking, you, our lovely viewers, to share your audacious stories with us, because we'd love you to come and also share with us what and how, or rather, how you have been audacious in your world. It's been a wonderful time. Senegal, do you agree?
I agree wholeheartedly.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome, my people. We are very, very grateful, Sisunechi.
Hi,
Thank you for
Sistine.
showing up. We will see
Yes.
you next week
Next week,
at
indeed.
Audacity for breakfast. Thank you. All right.